kind of machine is that? What kind of functioning is that? Is that CR or DR?
So would that be CR?
It would be DR. If you do not put it into a reader, if you didn't have to put it into a reader, correct?
Mm-hmm.
You did?
No.
No, you didn't. It automatically transmitted the images over to the monitor. Mm-hmm. So it is DR, direct radiography.
Okay.
At this point, I need y'all to know CR from DR. I do.
Gotcha. And then she tried to filter like the patient, so just find their name on the thing, and then the KVP in the mask.
Yes.
So you just gotta click the button, and it's like
click the button. We're gonna talk about that button today.
Yeah.
That button. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that button. Huh?
It's like it's already set up there, KVP, and then you just gotta adjust it. Like if it's like 2.0 and it says 2.5, like you gotta adjust that.
Right. So those are gonna mean something to you. Probably not right now too much, but this class will teach you about those factors. I love it. I'm glad you learned something, Jessley. I'm glad you're learning.
Hey, Ms. Laura, what does DAP measure? Like I saw it was one of the things they were writing down during the fluoroscopy procedures, and I just haven't heard of it before.
Dose area product is just basically talking about the dose that is being absorbed in that particular area or space. We'll get to it, but it won't be this year. Not that I know of, because this is a very new book for me. And even though going through it, I thought I would be able to stay on timeline, but no. I haven't seen dose area product here in a little bit, but we usually do that in the second year. But awesome. And in fluoro cases, where you have dynamic imaging, where time can get away from you.
Okay.
Good. Love it. Everyone get their flu shot? Who has not gotten their flu shot? Now is the time to start getting your flu shot. So I have been talking. I know that myself has been told that they weren't going to give me my shot. So I've reached out to Miss Donna again, who is the director, to make sure that her staff is fully aware of what the changes that were discussed. But it does happen. We have to just be adaptable and flexible. But I know today I got mine because it was scheduled. And I was telling them that I needed you guys to get yours when you guys come back on Tuesday and Thursday. Whatever location that you're going to be, Bentop or LBJ, I'm not going to say the clinics, Bentop or LBJ, that you're able to get those flu shots completed. Show me your hand if you've gotten your flu shot. Okay, a few of you? Okay, good, I like it. So that means for the rest of you guys, guess what? You got this month to get your flu shot. And it's free, so don't lose the opportunity while you're at one of the hospitals. Okay, look at the schedule, because the schedule will tell you when they're being given. They're not giving them every day, and where they're being given, where they're being provided, because they're stationed. They're like right now, they're in the auditorium at OBJ on the next building over, and they just kind of got like a little process where it expedites the shots. Any questions? No? All right. So you have received my emails. I did move. My apologies. There is something happening with Nearpod, and I've been working with their support group, because yesterday afternoon, it wouldn't even open. So working on it, but I will double make sure that if it's not going to happen again on Nearpod, we won't have any backups. I'll just put it on a PowerPoint and we'll figure out something else. Okay. So with that being said, I did send you a new timeline. I sent you a new timeline for PRE, not pathology, because I'm only moving that test over 2 days. We're not going to fall that far behind. But for PRE, I sent you a new timeline. So can you please pull that up? So the changes that are going to happen on 10/9 next Friday, we're going to have your PRE exam over this chapter next Friday. You're originally going to have it on Monday. We are not finished. And I want to have the opportunity to make it a bit thorough than to just give you a test where I know that some of you will still struggle. Got it? Although it's your accountability to read ahead. It is your accountability to read ahead. I'll say that again. Do not wait for me to lecture to learn this material. Okay? It is your responsibility to read ahead and ask the questions that you need clarification on. Yes? Everyone understand that? Perfect. So, what has happened from this timeline to the last timeline that I sent you? We will not have chapter 9. We will not. I wasn't going to test you over all of chapter 9 anyways. We were only going to cover certain sections. So I had only put that in there for flexibility. So you will be void of one exam. So instead of 6 exams, you will have 5 exams. Instead of 6 exams, you will have 5 exams and a final. And so that has opened up our timeline to spend a little bit more days within the chapter that we need to cover. So we've done 1, 5, 6, 7, and we'll finish out with 8. Okay? Now here, I'm not sure, and I know that many of you will tell me, I'm not sure that, hold on. Okay, let's see anybody else's. I'm not sure what your other tests are looking like. If it's, I know some faculty like to give you a test before the holiday. Some faculty will give you the test after the holiday. I'm flexible. I don't really care if it's before or it's after.
Rather before.
I don't care because I built in an extra day there. However, I know that this particular chapter, extremely important, but you will not be able to understand this if you do not clearly understand this. Does everyone understand that? It's going to continue to build. And as you're reading, you're starting to see some circuit words, voltage words, generator words. I'm not putting a lot of emphasis on that just yet because we will tie it all in together in your physics after we've gone through PRE fundamentals, PRE advanced, and then physics, and we'll tie it all in together. I'm pretty confident that we can get that done. Okay? I don't want you to go back. I'm giving you exactly what you need to know and how to put these concepts together without going into mathematics for potential difference or any of those types of words just yet. Got it? Everyone understand? Any questions? Happy Friday, everyone. What a week it's been, right? This is pretty routine for us. So remember when I said it was going to come quick, come fast, come hard? Has it? Is it? Did I lie? I may be forgetful, but I don't lie. That's for sure. Okay? All right. So everyone's got this. You should have it in your email. If you don't, please go back and relook or let me know if you do not have it in your email and replace it. So this is your new timeline. Got it? Yep. All right. So, where did we leave off? Where did we leave off? I can't hear you.
In
Induction
order anode.
At the anode? What about the anode, Betty?
We had finished discussing the three parts of the induction motor is operated through mutual induction, and then it says like the three steps.
Right.
The first, yes.
So what is mutual induction? Go ahead, somebody else. What is electromagnetic induction?
It's like when the electromagnetic fields that are generated by the stators are able to mutually induce the rotor to turn.
And so where, you call it stator, I call it stator, but where is the stator located?
Outside the tube.
Outside of the envelope or the X-ray tube. So when we think about the X-ray tube and we think about the construct of the X-ray tube, the stators are going to be a part of the X-ray tube. However, the stators stay outside of the envelope. Does everyone understand that? The stator's responsibility is to do what again, doing?
Sorry, can you repeat again?
Hold on. Hold on 1 second. I'm on someone else's computer and they're asking. Doing what does the stator move? What does the stator do again? What's the purpose of the stators?
Okay, the stator, like they're gonna use the electromagnet, and then it's gonna be the stator outside the envelope, and then it's gonna help the rotor, like and the iron in front of the rotor is gonna be like attached to. It's not gonna stick like together. It's gonna stay separate, but like it's gonna have the irons like move.
It's gonna have the rotor spin.
Yeah.
What is the rotor spinning, Amy? That is so important to us. What is attached to the rotor that we needed to spin?
The disc.
The disc, the anode disc. Perfect, perfect, and perfect. So you guys are doing awesome. So you guys are talking physics to me. I love it. Y'all are talking physics. Perfect. Okay. Okay. All right. So moving on. We talked about different types of elements, didn't we? We talked about different constructs of the anode. We talked about what does the anode disc primarily made of, Marisela?
Tungsten.
Tungsten, that's going to be the focal track. Now remember, there's different parts, right? So if we think about it, if this is our entire head, right, we have different parts of our head. We have the disc, which will probably our face, okay? If we put a ring around our face, that'll be the focal track. Because if our face is going to spin, there is going to be a track that is formed. That is going to be tungsten. Only the focal track on the anode is made of tungsten with what, Sharon? Tungsten with?
I'm not pretty sure about it.
Okay, Jonan, what is tungsten mixed with at the focal track?
Rhenium.
Rhenium. Good. The rest of the disc, the actual disc itself, is made up primarily of what, Javier?
Big tungsten?
Not tungsten.
Oh,
tungsten is the focal track of the anode disc. What is in the middle? What is this right here? What is in the middle? What sits in the middle of the track and on the outside of the track?
Molybdenum and graphite.
Molybdenum. You guys need to know this. If you are stuck here, then you need a tutor with me because y'all really need to know the constructs of the anode. With molybdenum, we have graphite. Why graphite, John?
Because it has a high melting point.
Because it's going to absorb that heat. We are generating, what's the percentage of heat?
99.
99% of everything that we are converting over from the electrical circuit of the wall is going to be converted into 99% of heat. So the focal tract's purpose is to have a bombardment, a collision of electrons that are going to be flowing over. Only at the focal tract, which is made of tungsten and rhenium. Primarily tungsten with a mixture of rhenium. The rest of the disc is molybdenum. The base of the disc is going to be graphite. What is the rotor made up of, Aurora?
It's made of metal.
Iron.
Oh, iron. There you go.
Iron. Good. What is the stator made up of, Pamela? I can't hear you. Electromagnets. Pairs of electromagnets. Good. Perfect. All right. If you guys have questions from what we reviewed, you need to be asking those questions. I'm moving forward. That was our little bit of a review. I gave you this. This is how induction motor works. This is how the induction motor works. You've already had an opportunity to copy this, correct? Good. What else have we learned? Because I'm not going forward until we can continue on with telling me what we have learned. Naomi, give me something else that was not said today. Can't hear you, huh?
I'm thinking of something. Let's see. So we have two different options. Of course, right now we're talking about a rotating anode, but there's also stationary.
Good. That has what kind of shaft? What kind of element is in that shaft?
Let me remind myself. I'm not sure. Silver colored tungsten.
That's tungsten? You know what? Let's do this. Why don't we do this? T, tungsten, is for target. T, tungsten, is for target. Only target. T, tungsten, target. Not for the entire construction. Not for the entire construction. Got it? Thank you, Naomi. All right, let's go. Let me get moving. Now, in the induction motor, it allows capable speeds of 3,400 revolutions per minute, or RPMs. That induction motor allows the anode disc to spin 3,400 times, or rotations, revolutions, per how long?
Per minute?
Per minute. 3,400 RPMs for a regular X-ray tube. A specialty tube can rotate up to 10,000 RPMs. Those are those high energy, rapid succession machines. Where would we see something like that? Probably in CT. Rapid exposures. So for a general purpose tube, when you walk into your rooms, you've always heard me say, look at your equipment. What equipment is in this room? What kind of exams would you do in this room? Correct? For a general purpose, it's 3,400 RPMs. That's how many times the anode is rotating. That's how many times the stator is expected to rotate the rotor. In a specialty tube, it'll last up to 10,000 RPMs. So what is the purpose? What's the purpose of having a rotating anode? What, Ruth?
To spread the heat.
Spread the heat.
Or
Instead of saying spread the love, we are spreading the heat. Absolutely correct. This is why we need a spinning anode so that we can spread the heat. Where is the heat going to go to, Jaleisha?
Isn't it through the oil that allows to dissipate, or the cooling fan?
Thank you. You have just made me so happy today. Yes, we talked about oil. All of the different things that we talked about on the X-ray envelope, the glass, the oil of the protective housing, everything that is there for heat, that's where that heat is going. So I found this image and I thought it was very good. Here we have the X-ray tube. We have the stator positioned around the X-ray tube through the rotor, right? The rotor is attached to the anode disc. We know on the anode disc, there is a focal track. Jolie, what is the focal track made up of again? If it kills me, I'm going to get you to remember this. If it kills me. Jolie, what is the focal track made of?
Is it
Nickel.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And? Is that too much to and? What?
Nickel.
Jolie.
I forgot. Sorry.
Rhenium. Tungsten with the splash of rhenium. Please don't forget that. Okay? Please don't. All right. So here we have the stator positioned around the rotor that is attached to the disc. This stem, the stem that attaches the rotor to the disc, what do you think it's made of? You guessed it, molybdenum. 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 What is so great about molybdenum, Shivu?
It does not have hot.
It doesn't get hot, right? It absorbs that heat. It does. It just doesn't get hot at all. Like it, love it. So we're here now. This is a principle. This is a fact. This is almost engineering at its finest. So I'm going to allow you to go ahead and copy, even though you have this in your PowerPoints, because I need you to understand what the line focus principles purpose is. Just like I've talked, everything that we've talked about has a purpose. There is a reason for what is. And your job is to understand what it is and how it interacts. Okay. So whether we're talking about a stationary anode or whether we're talking about a rotating anode, there is an angle that the target is positioned. On the stationary, you can see this angle of the target, right? It's slanted down. Does everyone see that? Yes, perfect. Here on the anode, it is also slanted down. There is a purpose for that tilt or slant of the focal track. We call that the line focus principle. The line focus principle states by angling the face, remember I said face, of the anode target. What kind of target do we have on the rotating anode? What kind of target do we have? Tracy, what kind of target do we have?
The actual focal spot.
Nope, not yet. Nope,
Rotating.
nope, not yet. What kind of target do we have on the face of the anode disc? Got it. It's 2 words. We just said it. We talked about what it was made of.
Tungsten?
It is made of tungsten, but what is made of tungsten? What did you say, Naomi?
The focal.
Face.
If not the entire face.
The focal.
Thank you. Woo! Yes, the focal track belongs on the rotating anode disc. Got it? The focal track is on the face of the anode disc, which is made of tungsten with a splash of rhenium. Great work. Great work. Love it. So here we have our anode target. At the anode target, there is a tilt. The tilt is there for a reason. The line focus principle tells us by angling the anode target, whether it's stationary or rotating, a large actual focal spot size can be maintained and a small effective focal spot size can be created. So I will allow you to follow this. This is the principle. This is the rule. This is how we are going to see our conversions manifest. Our conversions are going to manifest right here. Okay? Everyone done copying? Everyone's good? When we think about the line focus principle, we're thinking about this experiment here. When you're converting the aim of something. Here, in this picture that I found, this child has a flashlight. He is aiming at the mirror. This child is tilting the mirror to redirect the light. Okay? We're redirecting the light in this picture. The line focus principle behaves similarly. However, we're not redirecting light, nor are we redirecting electrons. What we're going to be redirecting is once the X-rays are created, we're going to direct that X-ray beam outside of our X-ray tube. So let me explain. The line focus principle says, by angling the target, we can maintain a large actual focal spot and create a smaller effective focal spot. So now the question is what? What is the difference between an actual focal spot and an effective focal spot? Does anyone know? No?
So the actual focal spot is the area, the larger area that the electron stream is hitting the target of the anode. And then because of the angle, the way it's angled, it creates a narrower X-ray photon, which is the effective focal spot because it's the one that's actually the X-ray photon that's actually going to the patient. So it's smaller and you get the sharper image.
I like it. I like it. Great job. I'm just going to clean it up just a little bit. But yes, you are on point. And so that's where everybody should be. So here, because there's different angles, and different angles incorporate for different reasons. And we're going to learn why the smaller the angle, the better. At the actual focal spot, is where the electrons will collide with the target. At the actual focal spot, the electrons will collide with the target. At the actual focal spot, this is where the electrons interact with the target. By angling the target, what is going to emerge, Wani? What is going to emerge after the electrons interact with the target? Two things will emerge. What are they? Go ahead, Luke. Were you raising your hand? Oh, so sweet. Thank you. Oh, you were. But go ahead and answer. Help her up.
I was trying to
What
cover
two
it.
things
No,
are
but
going to
okay.
emerge?
Say that again, sorry.
So when electrons hit the target, what two things are going to emerge? Two interactions. We have two conversions happening. What is it?
The
99% what?
99% turn into heat, and then the 1% turns into X-ray.
Beautiful. See, we do know this, guys. You guys are going to have to start incorporating it. I know y'all are busy copying, but y'all really need to be listening. Okay? You really do. All of this information is in your book. So, as the electrons hit the target, we have two types of conversions. The electrons are going to either be, that interaction is going to convert to heat, which is going to be dissipated. How? But you know what? Let me get to that second. The X-rays are going to be guided away from the target and funneled, almost like a funneling. We are redirecting where we want that X-ray beam to go. So as this person redirected the light to this person by angling this mirror, the concept is the same. We are going to take the electrons that bombard at the actual focal spot, create an effective focal spot to guide our X-rays out of the X-ray tube towards our patient. This is why our patient is lying down. Our tube is this way. When the patient is standing erect, we aim our tube this way. We are aiming our effective focal spot so that our X-rays flow into our central ray. So again, the actual focal spot is where the electrons interact with the target. What emerges, or what energy conversion takes place? Heat, which is dissipated by the spinning anode. X-rays, which is now in a path of the effective focal spot. So, one focal spot has electrons. The other focal spot now has X-rays. One focal spot is for the electrons. The other focal spot is for the X-rays. Jessley, which one has the X-rays? The actual or the effective? Okay, I'm reading your lips. I think you said, but I want to hear you.
The actual?
Actual is where the actual interactions take place.
So it's the effective.
It's the effective. It's the effective. E, the effect. E, exit X-rays. E, effective, exit X-rays. It's getting deeper, guys. Put on your rain boots. We're about to go deeper.
I'm sorry. I just want to make sure I understand. So, when the line goes, when the rotators like redirect the light, right? Like redirect the, it's moving, right? Like, so it's gonna be between two focal spots. Like one, if electrons, it'll be like the actual, it's building up. It's like 99% of the heat, and then the effective will be like when it does the X-rays, and it'll be just that 1%.
Yeah, the 1% of X-rays that are going to be, hopefully we can capture all 1%, will start to flow in the effective focal spot.
Okay.
So all of the electrons that bombarded at the target and were converted, and were converted to X-rays, when their energy was converted to X-rays, the X-rays will flow in the effective focal spot.
Okay, thank you.
So the line focus principle says, by angling the focal track or the target, we create a larger actual focal spot, and we create a smaller effective focal spot. The smaller the effective focal spot, the better the image quality. So this is engineering. The smaller, and we're going to talk about which angles. So a larger angle, the larger the effective focal spot. The smaller the angle, the smaller the effective focal spot. But if you notice, we have the same actual focal spot. So the area that the electrons bombard on the target is considered the actual focal spot. What emerges in X-ray is in the effective focal spot. The smaller, the better. The smaller, the better. Why is it better? It's going to contribute to better image quality. And this is what this says.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Miss Laura, I'm just trying to put things together. I don't know if it goes in relation to it. So this is how it goes back to the collimation?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay.
Collimation is going to take, so if my tube, if this is my effective focal spot, right? This is all coming out of my X-ray tube, right? If I move it back, my beam is going to diverge wide. Collimation is just taking that beam and making it smaller as it exits the shutters. I see where you're going with it, but right now we are talking about how do we get X-rays, and now we're getting them to come out of the tube. We're going to put it all together, but right now I need you to know these words: actual and effective. How are they different? Electrons are not X-rays. Electrons have a negative charge. X-rays have no charge, no weight, no mass, no nothing. They are bundles of energy. So which one has X-rays in its spot?
Effective.
Effective focal spot. Thank you. All right, so this is in your chapter. But look, I have a nice star here. I like stars, pretty stars. You know me, I like stars and I like critical concepts because this book is full of critical concepts. So, in this star relation, says the smaller the effective focal spot, the sharper the image will be. So, we are wanting to have a small effective focal spot. We want a small effective focal spot. We want a large actual focal spot because what happens at the actual focal spot again, son? Son, what happens at the actual focal spot? Are you chatting it in? Oh, okay. All right. So help him out, Daniel. What happens at the actual focal spot?
Actual X-rays happen.
I can't hear you, Daniel.
The area's been bombarded with
Yes, thank you so much. With electrons.
electrons.
Electrons. We're going to put it all together so that it makes sense to you. Beautiful. So a small effective focal spot is what I desire. What you desire, what all of the imaging society desires. However, we want to have enough electrons to come over so we can have, remember, because this is so inefficient, we're generating the conversion of those electrons coming over, bombarding the target makes 99% heat. We don't heat. We want more X-rays. And so we want to make sure we have a big enough space that we allow to get those X-rays. Make sense? But then we want to funnel those X-rays into a nice, tight, small area. Got it? Yes? So that is called the line focus principle. The line focus principle, by angling the face of the anode target, will create a large actual focal spot and a small effective focal spot. Make sense? So this is a principle. Any questions before we get into the anode heel effect?
So is it safe to say that with the larger actual focal spot, you get more electrons hitting it, so you get more X-rays produced while also having more area to spread the heat out?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, that is absolutely correct. Because if we can utilize the entire width of the target, the entire width of the tungsten target, that's best. So that we can get all those conversions to go. And if there's any conversions of X-rays outside of the target, they won't ever make their way into the effective focal spot. That is going to be leakage radiation. Make sense? Good. We want less leakage and more effective. All right, so the anode heel effect. Now, this is the downfall. This is kind of the downfall or the disadvantage. But, we're adaptive, we're flexible. We will use this disadvantage in our favor. The anode heel effect, because the angle of the target exists, right, like the line focus principle. What does the word intensity mean again, Tracy? Unmute for me, please.
I would say
Help us out, someone. Help her out.
The energy of the X-rays.
Not
the energy. It has to count.
The amount and energy of the X-ray?
The amount and energy. But remember, if I said you had to pick one of those, which one is most important?
Amount.
The amount. The amount of X-rays. The amount of X-rays. So the angle causes the intensity of the X-ray beam, because now we have an X-ray beam, remember, in the effective focal spot. Yes? We now have X-rays in the effective focal spot. So the heel of the anode, if you can see, is this little section right here made of molybdenum. So this section right here made of molybdenum is not only absorbing the heat or dissipating the heat, it is now absorbing the intensity of our X-rays. So our beam is less intense on the anode side than it is on the cathode side. There are less X-rays on the anode side because they're being absorbed by the heel of the disc than there is on the cathode side. So when we look at that, this picture is true. There is low intensity on the anode side of the beam. This is the effective focal spot. It just looks biggerly diverged, but this is still going to exit out of the window. But on this side of the exit is going to have less X-rays than on this side. This is called the anode heel effect because the heel of the anode absorbs the intensity of the X-ray beam. So we use it to our advantage. When you walk into an X-ray room, the anode is likely to be at your left while you are facing the X-ray tube, the tube head assembly. Anode is to your left. Cathode is to your right. Okay? Make sure you know that. The anode is to your left. The cathode is on the right. We will place the anode when we have thinner tissue to X-ray versus thicker tissue to X-ray. For example, the T-spine. The T-spine. And the superior portion of the T-spine, we have really no tissue. Everything lies in the mediastinum or over the vertebrae. We have lung material, not going to absorb a lot of X-ray. But if we go inferiorly, what is covering my lower T-spine?
Abdominal organ?
Abdominal organs? Not yet. Not okay. But you're close. Diaphragm is good. I like it. Diaphragm. What sits above the diaphragm over your T-spine? You should know this from the chest.
Lungs.
Is it the lungs? The lungs are out here.
The heart?
What is
Hearts.
the heart, guys? The heart. Is my mic check? Mic check. 1 2 1 2. Are we? I know it's been a long week. I'm with you, people. I am with it. Okay, so when we want to penetrate the heart or tissue more, but we don't want to over penetrate areas that are not superimposed with thick tissues, we will utilize the anode heel effect. We will place the anode over the thinner side and the cathode over the thicker side. Why? Because we have a higher intensity on the cathode side than we have on the anode side. This is why it's important. Your anode's to your left and your cathode is to your right. Good. All right. Awesome. Perfect. Okay, so where are we? We are at review. Okay, so let's do this. Why don't you ask your questions before we move on into the cathode? Or are you guys ready for your test on Monday? I don't have a problem. I'm doing you guys a favor. I don't have a problem.
Miss Laura, I have a question. It goes back to
these questions.
initial induction.
Uh-huh.
Can you explain that?
The induction?
Yeah, I didn't quite get it.
Okay, so let me ask you. Okay, do you remember that little? Gosh, let me see. I'm gonna try to go back and find it. Hold on. Do you remember those little? It's a little face, and it has little magnet chips inside it. You were given a little pen, and that pen you could make the little magnet chips go and form a picture. Do you know what I'm talking about? Let me see what it's called.
An Etch-a-Sketch?
Etch-a-Sketch used. Okay, hold on. What's happening? Okay. Let me see. Here we go. Let's go here. Okay, so I'm gonna try copying this. Y'all remember this? You see that? Right? How did we get those magnets to move, Amy?
There's another magnet on the pen.
Right, so there is a magnet on the pen, and these are little chips of iron, aren't they?
Yes.
Right? So the iron chips are attracted to the pen. And if we move the pen, the iron goes with it, doesn't it?
Yes.
So we were able to make all of these different designs on this. Okay? It follows the same concept. Now, what happens? So the iron follows the magnet anywhere you go, right? How do I get the iron to stop moving? Come on. How do I get the iron to stop moving?
The magnet.
You move the magnet. Perfect. You remove the magnet. So when we talk about induction, so what we're basically saying is here we have the iron, and the iron is going to move in a direction, align its north and south pole, because an iron if you have a piece of iron, it is going to have a north and a south pole. What it's basically trying to do is if this magnet, Amy, and this magnet are magnetized at the same way, the iron is going to flip to match it. Then these get turned off and these magnets get turned on. The iron is going to continue to flip to align its poles. So if you do this in rapid session, the iron is going to continue to flip. As it continues to flip, it is rotating to 3,400 times per minute. It's electrifying the magnets and removing the others. Not all of them are electrified at the same time. They are electrified in sequence so the iron can follow it. Yes? No? Perfect. Good. My little magnet face helped you. I know, right? I know it. I know it was the magnet face. What else? Jaleisha, you with me?
Yep.
What are the questions I have before I move on to the cathode?
So in the book, when it was talking about the anode heel effect, it was saying that so the intensity is lower, and then it says like the anode side, it's the image is lighter. So is that just because they're not strong enough to penetrate the skin, and they're just
when you lose your army, only so much is strong, right? So if you have an army, let's just say you have an army, and all of the army soldiers are different strengths, because they're going to be different strengths. Not all of the X-rays will possess the same energy, and we're going to talk why in the next chapter. So if you have all of these X-rays and they're all at different energy levels, okay? If you lose a lot of them, then you're only left with so much energy. So chances are this energy is not going to be useful in thick, strong, or dense areas. It'll likely get more absorbed in the patient instead of going all the way through. Okay? So if you lose half of your soldiers, just that side becomes weaker because they've been absorbed at the heel. That's why it's called the anode heel effect. Because of the heel of the anode, there is an effect of less intensity on that side of the X-ray beam. Great questions. I'm loving them. Bring them. Come on. Because this is telling me we're stuck somewhere.
I have a question about anode. For example, we're doing like finger, so the cathode side is gonna be left side, you said. So how is gonna affect the
cathode is on the right side. Anode is on the left side. So the intensity is gonna be the same for example, for hand, because the thickness is the same thing. Not really. So if you think about it, you have less thickness here, and you have thicker here. It's not a big difference, but you don't. This is thinner, right? Versus your palm of your hand, it's thicker. But it's not, because it's so, and it has to be a certain amount of thickness in order for you to see the difference of the anode heel effect. And then when we get to it, and I'm not sure if Mr. Donahue talked about it in chapter 1 for Bontrager for you, but you have different filters, and that's going to be the wedge filter that's going to help us with that. Okay? Or think about your toes. That's where you'll see it again. Your toes are thin. Your foot is thick, right? And especially because of that arch. So you have thick. That anode heel effect would be appropriate there. Good questions. Anything else? I know you have them.
Ms. Zara, I just want to verify if I understand right. On the track analogy, when we're doing like the track, so the focal track is made of tungsten, which has rhenium, and then molybdenum is in it, so it doesn't melt as fast. And then the last coat will be like graphite.
I'm sorry. Okay, hold on. Let me see. 1 second. Hold on. Let me get to it. So, come one more time.
So the focal track is made of tungsten, right?
Yeah.
And then it has rhenium, like splashes of rhenium.
Right.
And then the molybdenum is like what surrounds it. And then like if we were to look at the picture, if we go back, like how if you were to ask us like which, I'm not sure where it lays on the disc. Basically, like I can understand.
Right here.
Mm-hmm.
Oops, is the focal track.
Okay.
So the focal track is the slanted part?
The slanted part is the focal track because it is the target. The entire, okay, so we're going to get there. So molybdenum. So the focal track is on the face of the anode disc. It is going to spin how fast?
300 per minute.
300. 3,400 revolutions per minute, right?
Revolutions per
Perfect. So when this is spinning and electrons are coming over, because we're going to talk about the electrons, as the electrons come over, they're going to bombard on a target. But remember, this is spinning. This is spinning at 3,400 revolutions per minute. Okay? So this whole thing is going to be a target, but it's not just one part in itself. Electrons are going to flow over and they're going to keep hitting, but this is still spinning at the same time. So this entire section where the electron stream is going to be considered the actual focal spot. Because at that spot of the focal track is where the interaction is going to go. It doesn't stop spinning, it keeps spinning, right? I wish you know what? Hold on, let me go. Oh, so sorry. Okay, y'all ready? Ready to be amazed? Can you see me? I have an umbrella. Right? I have an umbrella. And if you were going to aim a gun and shoot in the same place that you never move your gun, it's going to start. What's going to happen? It's going to shoot different parts of the umbrella because it is spinning at the same time. It never stops spinning because heat is dissipating. So what's important about the track is, and why it's made of tungsten and rhenium, so when the electrons are hitting, it hits and it continues to spin. If it were going to just hit a stationary tube, stop. If it was going to hit a stationary tube like this one, what was the difference between the stationary tube? What was the disadvantage of the stationary tube? He wouldn't be able to dissipate. It's going to hit the same over and over at the same focal spot. Here, electrons are going to hit, yes, at the actual focal spot, but it is along the entire track because the track continues to spin. I hope that is making sense. But if you take your umbrella and you point, you know what I mean? You'll understand why it's important to have a focal track and made of tungsten plus rhenium, because you're going to have interactions happen. But along, and I'll continue to explain it a little bit more. So I hope that explained it. I don't know. I got the umbrella for a reason. What other questions before we move on into cathode? Are you guys okay with the line focus principle? Yeah? Okay. The anode Hill effect? Why the anode Hill effect exists? Why does the anode Hill effect exist? Stephanie?
It's to differentiate the low intensity and the high intensity. It's going to happen
that we don't want low intensity. You're right. Thank you. We don't want low intensity, but because we want to be able to have because we want the ability to save and dissipate that heat, we have to have a molybdenum base. We can't reconstruct this anode that it does not have molybdenum. Does that make sense? So we're going to have this heel because this molybdenum heel is supporting our focal tract. Okay? So, cathode. Are there any other questions? I see people with their eyes closed. I guess you're ready for me to start calling on people. Come on. We can't waste time. This is an important subject. Cathode is the negative end of the tube. At this end of the diode, it is going to provide us the source of electrons that is needed for X-ray production. We've been talking about this source, and lo and behold, we are going to talk about this source today. So the cathode provides us our source of electrons. We're going to see these elements: tungsten, thorium, 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 and we're going to see nickel. There are two parts of the cathode. The filament and the focusing cup. Filaments and focusing cup. There are two parts of the cathode, the filaments and the focusing cup. Most cathodes will have a dual filament system. Most tubes will have a dual filament system or a dual focusing cup. There is, when you do have a dual focus cup or dual focus tubes, you will have a large and a small. A large and a small. Filaments are made of tungsten with a splash of thorium. Filaments are made of tungsten with a splash of thorium. There is a large and there is a small. There is a large and there is a small. They're constructed out of thorium, mostly tungsten. Tungsten with a mixture of thorium. Thorium is a radioactive material that allows and this is going to be special because we're going to talk about a conversion. We're going to talk about energy conversion here. So thorium is added so that it can withstand the high melting points, complement the tungsten. The filament resides inside of the X-ray tube. So these are parts of the X-ray tube. You have the anode, right? What sits inside of the glass envelope or metal envelope. You have the rotor, you have the anode disc. And on the cathode side, you have the filament and the focusing cup. You can have two filaments, either a large or a small. Both. You have a large and a small. The focusing cup is made out of nickel. It surrounds the filament. It houses the filament everywhere except in the front. So the focusing cup is made out of nickel. It will hold a negative charge. It surrounds both filaments. So sometimes that's why you'll hear the term a dual focusing cup. Dual focusing cup, because it houses a large filament and a small filament. Those filaments are usually parallel to each other. You activate one or the other. The large filament is activated when you're using a 14 by 17, 11 by 14, that size. The small filament is activated when you're imaging small items like the finger, the hand, 8 by 10. The large filament is for large objectives. The small filament is for small objectives. Only one can be activated at a time. Your operating console, depending on what you choose to examine, will select your filament for you. Some older model operating consoles will allow you to select your own filament. Good. So, I see some words in there that are highlighted in different colors because we're about to talk about another interaction. We're about to talk about another interaction. But they need you, Aurora. They need you. Okay.
I'm sorry, my babysitter quit on me, and my son.
Sorry.
I'm so sorry.
You're good. It was funny to me. It's okay. You know what? It's okay, Aurora. I thought it was cute. So sorry. Okay. Why don't we stop here? Let's stop here. Please go back over Anode. I am done with Anode. I am done with protective housing. Unless you have a question, I am not going over Anode again. I am going to finish cathode if it kills me. Okay, so that you're ready for Friday. Please, if you guys are seeing my frustration, and I understand that you're seeing it, is because I need you to start getting into this material. Got it? Yes? All right. Have your questions ready for me on Monday. Have a great weekend. I will see you guys later. Bye.